Good morning, afternoon, evening, everyone. Have you ever faced a moment so dark that it felt like the end? A moment where everything you once knew crumbled before your eyes. Today, I want to talk about something we all experience but rarely embrace: adversity. And more importantly, the incredible power we hold within us to rise above it: resilience. When I think of resilience, one name echoes in my heart: Muniba Mazari, a woman who turned her tragedy into triumph. After a car accident left her paralyzed, she could have chosen silence, she could have chosen despair. But instead she chose hope, she chose courage, and she chose to inspire. Her story teaches us that life doesn't end when we fall, it begins when we decide to rise. So today, let's journey together through the storm, not to avoid it, but to discover the strength it plants within us. This is a tribute to every scar that shaped us, and every setback that sparked our comeback. Adversity is not the end, but the beginning of transformation. This powerful truth is often discovered in the darkest moments of our lives. It is in those moments when the world seems to fall apart, when everything we once held close slips away, that we are forced to confront who we truly are. These moments don't break us, they reveal us. For many, adversity feels like a full stop. But for those who choose to look deeper, it becomes a comma, a pause, a shift towards something greater. And no one embodies this truth better than Muniba Mazari. Muniba's story did not begin with a stage or spotlight. It began with a devastating car accident that left her paralyzed from the waist down. In that instant, everything changed. Her dreams, her plans, her very sense of identity was shattered. For many, such a life-altering event would mark the end. But for Muniba, it marked a new beginning. Lying in a hospital bed, broken in body but not in spirit, she began to ask herself a question that would reshape her life. What can I still do with what I have left? Whose question is the turning point in every journey through adversity. When we stop asking why me and start asking what now, we begin to reclaim our power. Adversity becomes the teacher, not the enemy, and transformation begins to take root. Muniba could have stayed in the shadows. She could have allowed her wheelchair to define her limits. But instead, she chose to redefine what was possible, not just for herself, but for everyone watching her. She picked up a paintbrush with hands that trembled and began to express her pain, her hope, her truth. Through art, she transformed her suffering into beauty. Later, she found her voice, first as a speaker, then as a national ambassador, and eventually as a global inspiration. Every step she took was not just a triumph over her physical limitations. It was a triumph over the idea that adversity should silence us. Adversity strips away comfort, and with it, the illusions we often cling to. It leaves us raw, vulnerable, and exposed. But it is precisely in this space of vulnerability that growth begins. When we are forced to let go of what no longer serves us, whether it's our fears, our false beliefs, or our limiting definitions of success, we create room for something more authentic to emerge. Transformation doesn't happen in moments of ease. It happens in moments of discomfort, uncertainty, and pain. Muniba's journey reminds us that transformation is not about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who we truly are. Before her accident, she was living a life shaped by others' expectations. After the accident, she began to live life on her own terms. Adversity didn't end her story. It rewrote it in a language that spoke to millions. She showed the world that strength is not about standing tall. It's about rising again, no matter how many times you've been knocked down. Every person has their own form of adversity. It may not be as dramatic or visible as Muniba's, but it is just as real. The loss of a loved one, the end of a dream, the struggle with mental health, or the quiet battles we fight within, these are all trials that test our resilience. And in each of these trials lies the potential for transformation. Not the kind of transformation that makes headlines, but the kind that changes hearts, the kind that helps us discover courage we never knew we had. When we look at adversity through the lens of growth, we begin to see it not as a curse, but as a calling to rise, to rebuild, and to redefine. Just like fire purifies gold, adversity refines us. It forces us to dig deeper, to find new strengths, and to embrace a version of ourselves that is more compassionate, more courageous, and more alive. Muniba Mazari did not let adversity define the end of her story. Instead, she let it spark the beginning of a new chapter, one filled with purpose, passion, and a voice that echoes across the world. Her life reminds us that we are not shaped by what happens to us, but by how we choose to respond. And when we choose to respond with resilience, adversity becomes the birthplace of transformation. True strength is found in embracing your scars, not hiding them. Scars are often seen as marks of weakness, reminders of pain, or evidence of failure. But in reality, scars are symbols of survival. They tell stories of battles fought, struggles endured, and growth achieved. Muniba Mazari's life is a powerful testament to this truth. After surviving a car accident that left her paralyzed, she was left with more than just physical scars. She carried emotional and psychological wounds that could have easily broken her spirit. But instead of hiding those scars, she chose to wear them with pride, using them as a message of hope and strength for others. When Muniba began her journey of healing, she was confronted not just physical challenges, but with societal judgments. People often told her what she couldn't do, what was impossible, and what limits she had to accept. Many expected her to remain silent, to stay invisible, to hide away because she no longer fit society's idea of a normal. But Muniba refused to accept that narrative. She realized that her scars, though painful, were part of her story. And instead of covering them up, she chose to speak openly about them, to let the world see the strength it takes to live through pain and still rise. Embracing our scars requires courage. It means looking at the parts of ourselves we are taught to be ashamed of and choosing to love them anyway. It means no longer pretending that everything is perfect, but instead showing up in our full humanity. With all our broken pieces, our lessons learned, and our wounds turned into wisdom. Muniba's strength did not come from pretending to be unshaken. It came from being real about her struggles, and in doing so, she gave others the permission to do the same. In a world that celebrates perfection and filters our flaws, embracing our scars becomes an act of rebellion. It's a declaration that we are enough, not in spite of our struggles, but because of them. Scars show that we've been through something and survived. They show that life has tested us, but it did not defeat us. Muniba did not let her wheelchair define her worth. She did not let her broken bones silence her voice. Instead, she used her scars as stepping stones to empowerment. She painted, she spoke, she inspired, and through it all, she never hid the pain that shaped her. There is something deeply human about seeing someone else's scars. It reminds us that we are not alone in our pain. It creates connection, empathy, and understanding. When Muniba shares her story, she does not do it to gain sympathy. She does it to spark strength in others. She lets people see that scars can be a source of light, that brokenness can become beauty, and that vulnerability is not weakness. It's strength in its rawest form. Many people spend their lives trying to cover up the things they feel ashamed of, but healing only begins when we stop hiding. Just as a wound cannot heal when it's hidden and ignored, our emotional and spiritual wounds require acknowledgement. Muniba teaches us that when we acknowledge our scars, we begin to own our stories. And when we own our stories, we take back our power. Our scars can also become our message. The very things we think disqualify us are often the things that give us the deepest connection with others. Muniba's journey resonates with millions, not because she lived a perfect life, but because she turned her pain into purpose. Her story is not about avoiding suffering, but about rising from it with dignity and grace. Every time she speaks, she carries with her the weight of her past, not as a burden, but as a badge of honor. She shows the world that being scarred does not mean being broken. It means being real, being strong, and being alive. True strength is quiet and steady. It doesn't boast or shout. It simply endures. And the people who carry the heaviest burdens often have the deepest wisdom. Muniba's strength lies in her ability to stand tall without standing at all. Her strength lies in her honesty, her authenticity, and her refusal to hide behind a mask. She reminds us that we do not need to be flawless to be powerful. We only need to be true. When we embrace our scars, we stop chasing the illusion of perfection. We begin to see ourselves with compassion and pride. We begin to understand that everything we've been through has shaped us into who we are. And instead of running from our past, we start to walk boldly with it, using it not as a weight that holds us down, but as wings that help us rise. Resilience is a choice we make every single day. It is not something we are born with or something that appears magically in moments of crisis. Rather, it is a decision, a conscious act of courage to keep going despite the circumstances. Life throws challenges at all of us, sometimes when we least expect them, and often when we feel the least prepared. But in those moments, we are given an opportunity to choose, to surrender to the weight of the struggle or to rise above it with strength and determination. Muniba Mazari's life is a profound reminder of this truth. After the accident that left her paralyzed, she did not wake up one day full of strength and purpose. Her resilience was built, moment by moment, choice by choice. In the beginning, everything felt like it had fallen apart. Her dreams of becoming an artist, her plans for the future, and even her physical independence seemed to vanish in an instant. But Muniba did not let that be the final chapter. She began making small, difficult choices. The choice to get out of bed, the choice to smile even when it hurt, the choice to speak up even when her voice trembled. These were not easy choices, but they were the seeds of her resilience. Each one built upon the last, creating a foundation of strength that would later inspire the world. Resilience is not about being fearless. It is about feeling the fear and moving forward anyway. It is about showing up even when your heart is heavy and your body is tired. It is a decision to not let pain define you. For Muniba, resilience meant redefining what life could look like. It meant accepting her reality while refusing to be limited by it. She made the choice to dream again, to paint again, to live again, not because it was easy, but because she believed in the possibility of something better. Every single day, we are given countless chances to practice resilience. Sometimes it's in big moments, recovering from a loss, facing a serious illness, or starting over after a failure. But more often, it's in the small moments, getting up when you'd rather stay in bed, trying again after being rejected, choosing kindness when you've been hurt. These everyday choices shape our strength. They form the quiet inner resolve that carries us through life's storms. And this is where true resilience lives, not in grand gestures, but in consistent courage. What makes Muniba's story so powerful is that she does not pretend to be superhuman. She openly shares her struggles, her fears, and her bad days. She reminds us that resilience doesn't mean having it all together. It means continuing to move forward even when everything feels uncertain. She made the choice to become a voice for others, to stand up and speak out from her wheelchair, and to show that strength is not found in what we can do physically, but in what we choose to believe about ourselves. In a world where it's easy to feel overwhelmed by comparison and pressure, the idea that we can choose resilience is empowering. We may not be able to control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond. And in that response lies our true power. Muniba teaches us that no matter how difficult the journey, we always have a say in how we face it. Her life is living proof that adversity can be a doorway to greatness, not because it's easy, but because we choose to rise above it. The choice to be resilient often goes unnoticed by the world. It happens in quiet spaces, behind closed doors, and in the silence of our own thoughts. It is the decision to speak kindly to ourselves, to hold on to hope, and to believe that better days are possible. These choices may seem small, but over time, they build a strength that cannot be shaken. Muniba's choice to paint with trembling hands, to smile through pain, and to tell her story with honesty and courage is a reflection of that strength. We don't always recognize the importance of the choices we make in difficult times, but looking back, those choices are often the ones that define us. They become the turning points in our lives, the moments when we decided to keep going, to hold on, and to believe in the light even when surrounded by darkness. Resilience is not a one-time decision. It is a way of life. It is a commit to rise each time we fall, and to keep moving forward no matter how slow the progress may be. When we understand that resilience is a choice, we begin to see ourselves differently. We stop waiting for strength to magically appear and start creating it from within. We realize that we are stronger than we think, braver than we feel, and more capable than we ever imagined. Just like Muniba Mazari, we learn that through every challenge, we are shaping not just our future, but the way we inspire others simply by choosing to never give up.